if we want our players to make plays, then we have to be prepared to live and learn from the errors and the turnovers. And that's what the process is helping them learn, what's appropriate at what point. And so I know we all know that, but it's easy to start talking about we want our players to be more creative, but then we stifle the creativity by saying, hey, you got to do this in that situation. It's more about the discussion of the approach to the situation, the outcome of the situation, and then how could you do it differently next time? That's kind of what it comes down to again, I think.
And that's a mindset that I'm trying to say, use those skills you have and make something happen. Challenge people one-on-one.
So we got to be careful there. Sorry. I don't think, and I won't speak for you, Don, but I don't think it was necessarily the one-on-one stuff that got Mangiapane there. It's more the effort stuff, like the willingness to go into battle with people, the willingness to get to the puck first, the willingness to battle hard, go to their dirty areas, and from that sort of sprung some more confidence on his part to take that little risk once in a while one-on-one. So it was more the effort stuff and the playing on the edge stuff that maybe helped propel him more than simply individual play. No or yes?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one-on-one, getting in the corner first and battling hard.
Yeah. It comes down to mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It comes down to what's Mangiapane's mindset, right? Like what is his mindset that he's willing to fail? If he's dumping pucks in, it kind of goes back to with the girls. Like a lot of times they'll divert. Like for instance with the girls, did that 2-on-0 drill where the one shooting for a rebound, right? And all of them chose to shoot for a rebound as opposed to shooting to score. So I literally had to say, okay, no shooting for the rebound, you're shooting to score now. And then, because they were afraid to risk to score, right? And the fact that they maybe missed, and now I'm shooting for the easiest path. So to your grandson, like what's his mindset? Is his mindset that you're going to get hammered. You're going to get your head taken off. But you're like Mangiapane he's ready to risk that. He would go against McDermott when he was in the minors, and McDermott is maybe the toughest guy in the whole NHL. He would go against anybody. He'd go against that Reeves, no problem. He would stand in front of the net knowing full well and challenge him, right? Because it was like a Jack Russell, like didn't know the size. He doesn't know his size, right? But that's the thing. It comes down to mindset, and it comes down to being, I am going for that puck, and I do not care who that is. Ryan Smith is another example. I would always say Ryan Smith wasn't smart enough to realize that he shouldn't go to certain areas of the ice. Yet he would go. I remember watching him played with him. He would go with Darian Hatcher in the corner. I'm like, he's dead. There's no chance he's coming out with this puck. And he'd go right in between, right? Guys, he would drive the net in practice, and where you would think guys would be like, oh, geez, I'm gonna let him off the hook, and he would drive, and then guys would get mad and pee that he would like take it to the net. And so guys were like, all right, and they would drive him into the post in practice, literally. But then the next time he would drive again right to the net, because he, in his mind, he knew that he was like, you know what, I'm going. It was all a mindset. And I think with your grandson, and I don't know your grandson from anyone, but I would say it seems to me like he's afraid to fail. And that's just a broad stroke. And again, that's not fair really, but that's just what it seems like.
Yeah, I think that might be true. He doesn't, I think that might be true because, man, he's fit and strong and can skate, and when he does assert himself, he's really effective.
Yeah, and yeah, yeah, and I don't know if it was on this call and I deal with my older daughter, so and I guess Kim obviously relates to this, but she was so afraid to fail to do anything, so she was just constantly on the outside. So the one question I would ask her is this, how'd you challenge yourself today? And she would literally look at me, and I'm like, well, how'd you challenge? And I watched the whole practice, and she would say, well, and she couldn't come up with an answer. So well, what do you mean? I said, well, did you try to get to the middle? Did you try to take a shot? I saw you made the easy play every time you came in, and you made the play that you thought you should made. But are you challenging the D? Are you going first on pucks? Like, are you doing these things that take you out of your comfort zone, right? And it sounds like he's just staying within his comfort zone. Lots of guys like that as well. Like, we've got guys with all kinds of skill, but they don't want to look bad, right?
Well, my top player on SAIT, the women's team, she's not any more skilled than anybody, but she's second in the league in scoring, and she missed 3 games because of suspension. And but she just wants to score. Yeah. She goes through people just like Mangiapane there.
I got a question for all of you, Kim, Al, Ramsey, Peter Smith. Dom, you talked about Ryan Smith, Mangiapane. I think of Gallagher. How young do you see that competitive mindset at the levels you're coaching on the female side? Kim, have you noticed it? Is it there? Can it be taught, bred, developed? Al, with your young kids, if you run into kids that are just so determined and compete so well. Go ahead, Kim.
Well, as a player who fits this description, or fit that description when I played, I know I got it from starting hockey so late. I was the underdog, so I wasn't a high level skill player ever. Out or be effective, and then it sort of allows them to leapfrog over some of the more talented players, like you guys are saying, like Dom was saying about his daughter, who kind of play on the outside, right? So initially they're worse than them, and they're trying to, just be in the fight because they're the underdog, and all of a sudden those underdog habits that they're using just to stay alive and just to even play at the level that they're playing at, allow them to leapfrog over those more talented players who maybe have never had to develop those skills, right? I think part of this too is, when you have younger kids playing full ice and you have a kid who's super talented and she can just go end to end and never has to go in the fray to get a puck. I think the half ice hockey has helped a lot in that regard to at least create traffic and contact. But that's my experience in the female game. Typically at the junior level, we don't see a lot of players who stay completely out of the fray. There's a reason they've gotten to that level because of their, the level of comfort with contact. But I have seen it at the midget and the bantam levels of kids who just have, again, it's usually the more talented players at the AA levels who are staying to the outside. So I see it from the underdogs, just having, it's like a survival instinct. But it does give them that leapfrog effect when they move up to higher levels.
The question is, can competitiveness be taught? Absolutely. Will every single player learn to be competitive? Not necessarily. How young do we see it? I think you can see it with Timbits, even at that young, the ones who are naturally competitive and I'm going to go do it, and the ones that are going to stand back and be passive. And I think, most females in particular need to be taught to be competitive because it's perhaps not so much their nature to be competitive because they want to be the good social buddy and not make their teammate look bad. And I know most of you, and that's the challenge with new people on the calls all the time, is retelling old stories. My first year at Vermont, that was almost my whole focus. The first year is getting them to compete at practice and helping them understand that by me doing my best, I make him better because it's forcing her to up her game, like help them understand that. And it was really our focus that whole first year is just to up the competitiveness level by playing small area games and keeping score and all that sort of thing. So I think some absolutes, and I'll stop from telling the Catriona LeMay Doan and Susan Hawk story, but because that's been well told as well, how they had to learn elite world-class Olympic champion speed skaters had to learn to compete against each other and not feel bad for the other person when they started training together. Like, it's quite a story that I heard from the horse's mouth.
Rick?
Well, I just wanted to enter maybe a new ingredient to this discussion, something I've noticed right from when I was a kid. Most teams will have a dominant player, and from my observation, the tendency of players is to find their place below that. And where you see it come out is when you lose that dominant player through injury or something, particularly at the younger levels where I work at more often. Somebody steps into the void, and you look at your other coaches and you say, where did that come from? And the fact is, it's always been there. It's just been subconsciously put down by the individual himself or herself, knowing that or feeling that that's their place, and being better is somebody else's responsibility right now. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, and I've raised this in different forums from time to time, and it does seem to be universally out there. On what his capabilities and potentials might be. Question for me would be, what's the team philosophy? Why is he doing that? Is it because of some dictate that he needs to follow?
It just, but it's a general problem in players, and that's why I brought it up, is to use the ability you have, to succeed. I know Dominic told about when he went to one NHL team, and he's a really offensive, skilled guy, and they put him on the fourth line or something. Both of his wingers told him not to pass to them. So, it's pretty tough to succeed very well there, eh, Dom? Remember you telling that story?
Yeah, no, yeah, it was, I mean, it was, I'll tell the story. I apologize for those that have heard it already. So I was in the minors for the most part, and I had our team had some success, and so a lot of us were getting opportunities. Had a game. I grew up a Canadiens fan, and so one of my first games was in Montreal, not the Forum, but the Bell Center, and so I was excited to play, and I was playing, and I was in Buffalo at the time, and it was a dream come true, and I was feeling it. I was playing well, and I remember stealing the puck in the offensive zone and giving it to a player in front of the net, and he was like surprised that he got it. And then I came back to the bench, and he's like, "Don't you ever give me the puck again. You can go by yourself, but don't you dare give it to me again." And it was like, he was a fourth line guy, and just wanted, and he was a tough guy, and that he wanted to play his role, and he didn't want to be embarrassed. But so I'm not sure how that. Yeah, so there's that story. I mean, the other thing that comes to mind is like your perception is reality in regards to how you perceive a situation, and I think perception is such a huge element in regards to, like, we see it all the time with guys that come down and deal well with being able to be sent down, right? You have the individuals that come down and see it as an opportunity to play and to work on their game, and then you see other guys that come down to see it as a slap in the face and I should be there, and they focus about all things. So their perception dictates whether or not they're able to excel in the situation they're in, or they're not able. So, and like there was one player, literally, he got sent down on a 2-week conditioning. He could not play in the league. Like, we had to play him because he was. And then the next time he got sent down, he like had the understanding that he was going to be there, so his perception had changed, and he was literally the best player in the league. And there was nothing really from the standpoint of his ability. It was the same player. His ability was the same. We were using him. We were giving him the same opportunities. It wasn't like we weren't giving him ice time and giving him ice time. But just the perception that, okay, I got to, like, if I want to get myself out of this, I have to take this as an opportunity to play and to show other teams I can play, and. So to me, that's a huge factor as well.
I typed it in there, and Wally suggested that he go and, talk to the coach about it. My immediate reaction was woo, as I typed in, like, you're asking a young player to go and basically challenge his coaches, if that's what's happening, challenge his coach's tactical approach or his coach's view of himself as a player. So I thought it was a big ask, but and I've been thinking about it, and I think it could be possible, and it would depend on, sort of the confidence level. He could go in a totally inquisitive, with a totally inquisitive approach, asking for clarification from his coach with respect to that play. Like, hey, I just wondering, do you really want me to dump it in this situation? I felt like I could have maybe gained the zone or made a play. Like, I just want to know what's best for the team and what you want and what you'd like to see me do in those situations. So I could see a player hopefully approaching a coach on that level, and even the most hard-nosed coach maybe not taking offense to that. Some coaches will say, fuck you, like, dump that puck in, you're not good enough player, you just got to play to your skill level. Some coaches might say that, but I think it might be an approach that could work with a lot of coaches if you're just, trying to clarify, what's best or what the coaches want. So just a random thought there.
I don't think it's a direct. This coach had him last year. I don't see the rest. I don't see it just being a team thing that they just dump the puck in all the time. It's just him deferring, and it's something. Ever since he just about had his bicep cut off his first year midget, he was the only 2 kids made AAA, and he got drafted out of Bantam by Regina, and they had to operate like it was almost like it was 75% cut off. He was reaching in a back checking drill, and the guy's skate hit it right through, and basically wiped out his first season. And I haven't seen him be that. That was kind of a waste of a season. The next season he didn't assert himself, and last year he started asserting himself and started having really good success. So yeah, I don't think, I guess, don't want to talk about this too much, but I think it's a common thing in players that you have these players that they don't try to make anything happen, kind of play not to make a mistake. And I think that how do we coach that out of, or not coach it out of, or encourage players to take risks?
Yeah, I mean, I see that even in the youngest kids, Tom. I think you can pick out like even at 4 years old, you can pick out the bulldogs. There's going to be the kid that just doesn't care. He's just going to go 100 miles an hour. He's going to fall 100 times and he bounces back up and he just goes for it. And, I've had the same group of kids now. I have new groups of kids, but I got the same group of kids since they were 4 years old. They're now 7 and 8. And those ones that are the bulldogs are still like that. Now my son is probably one of the more skilled kids, but in practices, but when he's in the game, he defers a lot to other kids. He kind of, if there's somebody near him, even if he's the closest to the puck, but if there's somebody sort of in the vicinity, he'll kind of let them take it and, that kind of thing. But as soon as he scores a goal, he's a totally different player. If he scores in the game, he's all in. He's 100 miles an hour first to the puck, and he's making all kinds of things happen. But we've had a couple of conversations. I try not to, we don't really talk too much in the car on the way home, but there's this one day when he kind of let everybody go for it, and he just really didn't kind of do anything. And I just asked him about how he was feeling. He just said, "Dad, I'm kind of scared, like when I get the puck." I was like, "Well, you don't need to be scared about it. It's okay if you lose it. Like if you lose it and you give it to the other team, then just get it back. So no big deal." But I think yeah, you see that in some kids. It's like somebody made the comment earlier about sandpaper, and I think it's like finding that right sandpaper for every kid to try and like get them to what they need, right? Roger, when we were on the call the other day, Roger was talking about coaching the individual, not the team. It's almost like for that kid who's the bulldog, you can let them kind of figure things out. For the kid that's maybe a little more tentative, maybe you need to put them in situations, maybe you need a little bit easier on them. I don't know. Ask the right questions. That's why it's difficult, right? That's why it's hard. So, but it's funny some of the comments that I'm hearing. It's such an opportunity to sit in on this call, and it's neat that some of the same issues and some of the same things we see with the youngest kids are still the same things that we're talking about with some of the professional players.